Okay. Sorry for the late start. Still trying to get Rob on. I don't know exactly what's going on. This is Mac Boland, IllinoisMatmen.com. And to start with, as always, I'll give a shout out to our sponsor, GEI Wrestling Apparel. If you want it, go earn it. So let me just real quick, I'm going to mention last week, of course, we had the Rex Whitlatch. OPRF won the tournament. Deerfield was second. Want to point out real quick, Deerfield, great job talking about a program that, 6-7 years ago, not even on the map. A few years ago, state champ Colton Emmerich made the Elite Eight as a team, took Lockport all the way down to the final match. And then last year qualified the all three Heller brothers for state, and Sage, who's moved on to Hofstra, he made the finals. So great job. Give a shout out to Coach Pector and Coach Cohen for doing a great job of assembling the talent and training those guys up and making them into a force in Illinois wrestling. Now, as far as major events that are coming up, Friday we have the Dubtown event in Washington between OPRF and Washington, and not really what I would say an indicator, because it's kind of a fan service event. Both teams will probably be totally different when they get to the clash. It's a predetermined event based on matchups, and it's not like a regular dual meet. Normally in the past, both these teams would have met in the Washington Super Duels, but they put this thing on now, and it's probably going to become an annual event between teams. So Friday, the 23rd, Washington, OPRF in the Dubtown, and that's down in Washington. And like I said, it's going to be a live event, smoke, mirrors, it'll be a big deal. Predetermined matchups. I mean, it'll be fun to watch. It's a fan service entertainment thing, but it's not really, like a regular dual meet where you're going to have two teams that are going to juggle lineups and everything's predetermined. So, but again, if you can make it, probably a good event to make. You hear, Andre?
Yeah, every time somebody calls me, it's going to cut off. So,
well, then shut your damn phone off.
I can't. My wife is out there with a problem with her car. So let's do this real quick and let me get off.
All right. Well, let's go real quick. Something that's already been posted on the Illinois Matmen forums about our upcoming potential webcast of the Chicago Catholic League Championships. One of the toughest, if not the toughest, conference in the country, and what we want to try and bring. And so people on Illinois Matmen who are listening to this, go ahead, Andre.
Well, we're going to just bring the 2017 Catholic League Championship video webcast to the public. That'll be Saturday, January 21st. And the tournament starts at 9 a.m., but we're going to broadcast only the semis and the finals. So that'll be somewhere around noonish is usually when that happens. Noonish to 1 o'clock, with finals 3:30, 4 o'clock time frame in that area. And this will be free. Free is always good, I would imagine.
Amen.
And, there was a little debate as to whether this was the number one conference in the country, or is it two to Eastern Pennsylvania. I mean, I don't think it really matters. We know that it's one of the best conferences in the country, and definitely in the state of Illinois. So if you like wrestling, then you'll like this. and this is primarily for the diehard wrestling fans, those that have ties to the Catholic League, and so on and so forth. It'll be held at De La Salle High School, and on 35th and Indiana, Michigan, between that block there. Stone's throw away from, I can't say the real name of it. I'll just go Comiskey Park. I refuse to say the
I
new
would
name.
I would agree with you 100%. I'm an old timer too. It's always going to be Comiskey Park to me.
Yeah,
always.
I'm never going to say the new name. It took some while to get U.S. Cellular, but for sure the new one never. But anyway, so we're a stone's throw away from that. And but if you're on the broadcast, you won't have to leave the comfort of your house, and we can bring all the action to you. It'll be myself, Mac Boland, and Rob Sherrill on the call, and it's going to be filmed by Video Infinity. JD Oliva, who, as we all know from the Jumbotron videos, does an excellent job.
They do. Yeah, his company does a great job.
So we're in the process of putting together all the background work, and once we get that situated, it's just a matter of broadcast. We're approximately, I guess, today's the 21st of, or 20. So we're 1 month out.
About a month out. Yep. And we'll have interviews too.
Absolutely, we're gonna hit all the top teams and talk to all the top characters. Both coaches, alumni, and current wrestlers. So, there'll be a lot to listen to and look at. The beauty of this is that it could be a snow blizzard that day, Mac, and we'll still bring it to you.
Absolutely.
I was involved in one of those Catholic leagues one time where there was a blizzard, and woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning with my son, and he goes, actually, it was my wife that said, "It's snowing really bad. Are we going?" I'm like, "What do you mean, are we going?" "Yes, we're going." And, wrestling goes on regardless of the weather. Sort of like football, no matter what, we're going to do it. So we'll be there. If there's bad weather, if there's good weather, whatever the case may be.
Yep, absolutely.
And looking forward to it.
And some of the teams that are in this year are a little bit down from last year, but you've still got Mount Carmel, Montini, who are both nationally ranked. You have Marmion Academy, you have Providence Catholic, and then the rest of the teams. And then you've always got the outstanding individuals. And then, of course, you've got, when I say outstanding individuals, like obviously from St. Rita, Austin O'Connor. And
he'll be going for the record books.
Yep.
You'll be trying to
absolutely
get to the record books as a four-time conference
conference champ. You have Thomas. From Montini, of course, you've got Luann, who is also a Ironman placer, Melendez, Woods, and then some of the younger guys in Montini who a lot of people don't know, Ragusin at 106, who's a potential champ at that weight. Mayora, I'm not exactly sure what weight he'll be competing at, but, Montini actually, managed to really reload well after last year. And, they were a team when they came into the Chicago Catholic League Championship that had, the star power, a lot of holes in their lineup. But by the time it came to the state tournament, they pretty much filled everything in, won a regional, made it to the Elite Eight. And
well, see, those aren't really teams, Mac. Those are programs. And there's a big difference in a team. And
absolutely. And programs sustain.
All those that you named, Providence, I call them the Big Five.
Yeah.
Providence, St. Rita, Carmel, Marmion, and Montini.
Well,
those five reload.
And speaking of Providence, that's the comeback story. You're talking about a program that for several years was dead. And then last year made a resurgence, 4th in state, pretty good showing at the Chicago Catholic League Championship, and then competing in the Clash this year for the first time. So, you and I both witnessed on the Illinois Matmen Forum all the bashing that took place about Coach Healy and about Providence. Oh, how could this happen? And then bang, they're back in it.
Yeah, well, they're still young. They're a year away from greatness.
Yeah, well,
Right
they're
now,
a young team. They're a young team.
They're mainly sophomores. I don't know if they've got a senior in their lineup. So all of these storylines are great. You've got two of the programs with new head coaches with Alex Curtis over at Mount Carmel, and
Yeah, and actually, before we move on, let me make a quick mention here about Alex Surtis. Of course, he was a 4-time state champ in Indiana, went on to Iowa.
Undefeated.
Yeah, undefeated 4-time state champion in Indiana, went on to Iowa, NCAA All-American, Midlands champ, came back. He runs a program in Indiana known as a regional training center. Now, prior to that, Mount Carmel had a phenomenal coach, obviously, in John Kading, and, finished third in state last year. And honestly, real speaking, they were the second best team in 2A and probably the third best team in the entire state last year. Just because of the way the seedings went, they lost to Washington in the semifinal matchup. He moves to Leiden, but then they pick up a guy like Alex Surtis, and now you have the connection between Mount Carmel and the regional training center, and the regional training center in Indiana is going to pull in a lot of really good talent in Indiana. So the upside for the future of Mount Carmel is phenomenal. And talking to Surtis, he wants to go back to the Ironman lab. He would have gone this year, but their schedule was pretty much locked in. But folks, make no mistake, Mount Carmel is probably going to be in the Ironman next year.
Yeah. So, we're talking about a lot of huge programs on this tournament, and the thing, and you add in the tradition of the Catholic League.
Absolutely.
And how they really, really get after it. And then there's always not just those 5 teams, but then there's teams like Fenwick or Bishop Mack, who they will easily have. They have conference champions, state.
Yeah, well, they always come up with top individuals. I mean, when you mention Bishop Mack, et cetera, they always, like Batorn, who is one of the best wrestlers in the entire state, regardless of what class.
Yep.
Now, hopefully, this will be a big event, and, we would have liked to have brought it to you last year. We're definitely going to bring it to you this year. If you can come and watch it live, obviously that, we'd love to see that. But yeah, watch the webcast. We'll have great interviews, and there's a lot of good interviews in it as well. And a lot of top programs, a lot of top individuals. I'm going to be at the Clash over the weekend. And then, of course, in January, we'll have the Catholic League Championship, which, again, if you want to talk things like tradition and the kind of thing that makes Illinois wrestling special, that's the tournament you want to watch.
Correct. A lot of tradition. So, and they have a lot of alumni that come back to watch it.
Always.
It's just going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Well, and the kids programs. I mean, the kids programs that feed into all these high schools that are taking part in the tournament are a big part of this as well.
Oh, absolutely. They'll make sure they'll arrange their practices so that they can get there for the semifinals and the finals to support wrestlers that are from their programs. So it's just a fun event, and we're happy to bring it to you through Illinois Matmen Video Infinity and our broadcast team, and we're just looking forward to doing it. Like I said, we're in the background making things work. Stay tuned to Illinois Matmen, and you'll start to see the advertisements for it popping up this weekend. They've already been done. They just haven't gone up yet, but they will be this weekend.
And speaking of Mount Carmel and Providence, and something I want to talk about, Dvorak has started. Didn't really get a chance to do a formal preview because it's actually started today. Both Providence and Mount Carmel are in the mix. My kind of like predetermined pick, Mason, Ohio, is in the lead, but it's tight. And the interesting thing will be to see if the depth of Providence and Mount Carmel can overcome the kind of star power of a Mason, Ohio, which has, 4 or 5 outstanding individuals. Obviously, if you paid attention to the Ironman at all, you would know who Zach Donathan was, who had a phenomenal tournament at 132 pounds and upset 3 guys to include Oak Park River Forest Jason Rennery, and then a phenomenal match against one of the top-ranked guy, according to Flow Wrestling and Intermat, in Mitch Moore from St. Paris Graham, and that tournament's going on right now. He beat him in the finals. No webcast on that this year. Dvorak, always a great tournament. Lost a little bit, a lot of teams, no Lockport this year, no Lake Highland Prep. But you still have a lot of the top individuals. Of course, Austin Gomez is in it. And great tournament. You can catch the action on Track Wrestling. If you don't want to watch it live, of course, you can just, keep up with the brackets and the dashboard matches. That's going on right now. Also coming up, we have the Clash, the National High School Wrestling Duels. That's going to be a big one. 4 teams from Illinois participating. Some of the other teams dropped out. In the past, you had Montini. They're no longer there. Sandberg, they're no longer there. But the teams you do have, you have Oak Park River Forest, you have Washington that are in it. Providence Catholic, first year. It should be a good competition for them. They're more of a dual meet type team. They already have a win over Montini. Marmion Academy not in it this year. You have 3 of the top 5 ranked teams in the country at the Clash. In Buchanan from California, who won it last year. Lake Highland Prep, their first time in it. Lake Highland Prep in Florida, who is coached by Mike Palazzo, who is a former Glenbard North wrestler, a Mark Hahn protege, and a great team. They had a great showing at the Ironman as well. Oak Park River Forest, Washington, also nationally ranked teams. You also have St. Edward from Ohio. They finished runner-up last year. St. Edward also had a very good showing in the Ironman. They had a few down years. They're back up. Very loaded lineup and a lot of top individuals. So it'll be very interesting. I haven't seen the seedings yet. Those will be out soon. But again, Clash, National Duels, takes place in Rochester, Minnesota. Going to be a great event. I'll be up there for it. I'll be actually broadcasting for Oak Park River Forest, and I'll probably do, several interviews. But Illinois teams, Glenbard North, Oak Park River Forest, Washington, and Providence Catholic. There we go. Rob, there he is.
Probably Thursday night. Hope you guys have had a good time.
Yeah, okay.
It's been fun. I'm going to switch out while he's switching in.
Sure.
Rob,
let me hold on.
Yeah.
Let me adjust my audio here.
No, you're fine. You don't need to adjust anything. You're good.
Or maybe he can't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you're good. We got you.
So,
well, I will talk to you guys next week on the broadcast. I've got to run and solve a problem here.
Okay.
And, Rob, I'll talk to you later tonight because I know you called.
Sounds good, Andre. Call anytime.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Family duty.
Yep.
I just got done with that myself, so
that's no problem. Okay, so now that you're on here, Rob, let's go back last week. We'll do our recap. Class A, Anything?
Let me
Go ahead.
let me pull up my issue here, and we'll look at what
Significant events in Class A.
We'll look at what went on. It was one of those weekends where, especially downstate, the weather played a big role. Had 3 tournaments in Central Illinois canceled.
Wow.
At Clinton, at Cumberland, and at Tolono, and as well as a couple of mega duel events, including the Washington's projected match with Crystal Lake Central Yorkville. That was one of the cancellations. So we never got a chance to see how that would have played out. I think Lena Winslow was the team of the week. Big win at the Erie tournament, and also a win over Byron in a duel in midweek. So I think this past week they made the biggest noise.
Okay.
And of course, it'll be Class A's time next week in the Rumble, which I will be going to.
Good.
So I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. 42 teams, which is almost a third of the entire classification.
Wow. And where's that taking place at?
That's at the Prairie Capital Convention Center in Springfield. Okay. And it is a new event, which is made up of teams that used to be in the New Year's Challenge, and there is a New Year's Challenge that's going to be contested anyway. It's just going to be with fewer teams that are more local. I would expect. I think Clinton is probably the best team that elected to stay with the New Year's Challenge. I think you'll probably see them move over to the Rumble next year. But as far as the Rumble, we have the teams ranked number 2 through number 9 are all going to be there. So it really, except for Dakota, it really is a true Class 1A wrestle-off. Lena Winslow, Coal City, Wilmington, Vandalia, Clifton Central, Olympia, Sherrard, and Altoff. 9 this week. Clinton is number 10. They will be in the old New Year's Challenge. But then heading on farther down the list, Murfreesboro, number 11. So 9 of the top 11 teams this week in the 1A rankings are involved in the Rumble, and it's going to be, I think it'll be quite an event.
Absolutely. So
that will be next Wednesday and Thursday.
Next Wednesday and Thursday, all right.
The old New Year's Challenge at Danville will be next Thursday and Friday.
All righty. And for all you Class A fans, there you go. And I mean, like you said,
an event. I'm looking
Winslow and Coal City, and no, that's great.
Petersburg, Porta, and Auburn
Porta.
are the co-hosts of the event. And
nice.
From everything I've heard, it's going to be great.
Nice. Okay, so Class 2A, anything in particular?
2A, of course, I'm sure you talked about the throwdown a
little bit.
That's of course coming up tomorrow.
The thing is, though, and I need to make this this point with Washington OPRF, this isn't really indicative of an actual dual meet because it's kind of a fan service thing. The weight classes and the matchups are kind of predetermined. There's no lineup shuffles or shifts. There's no, it's more like a fan event. It's not like indicative of a real dual meet. That's going to take place, though, at the Clash coming up, and we'll cover that later. But purely from a fan standpoint and entertainment value, the Dubtown Throwdown is going to be a lot of fun. I mean, because it'll be smoke, mirrors, lights. It's in I think it's called the 6 Points Center. I mean, it's going to be a big deal and a fun to watch thing.
Yeah, I think obviously that's going to be that's going to be a great spectacle, great event for the fans, and I know that's why they do it.
Yes,
everybody that goes and watches it is really going to get their money's worth.
Yeah,
if you're looking for a team of the week in 2A, I'm going to give it to Lamont.
Okay.
They had a great week as far as they started it off by beating Oak Forest in a battle of which Oak Forest was and still is a top 10 team.
Mm-hmm.
That was a conference match in the South Suburban, and they beat them by a score of 34-32. Went down to the last match, and then Lamont also, of course, finished sixth at Hinsdale Central.
Yeah,
which
very
is
good showing. Very good showing.
Great achievement for a 2A team. And the last couple of years, tough ones for Lamont. In terms of they've been struggling with numbers a lot. I know John St. Clair has really had to pour forth a lot of effort just to keep that team together. Now this year he's that lineup's been restocked with a lot of freshmen. And they've had a great start to the season. And undefeated, now in the top 10 with those two great wins, and I think his patience has really been rewarded.
Yes, and Class 3A, obviously, Lockport has been continuing to roll.
Wins over two more ranked teams last week. Lincoln Way West, we already talked about. Of course, they beat Sandburg, and they're 19-0 now. And Lincoln Way West also beat a couple of ranked teams on Saturday. They beat Wheaton North. They beat Barrington. So they moved up a spot.
Yep.
So their tough schedule is continuing to pay dividends for them. And, of course, can't forget that Wheaton North finally broke the streak against Glenbard North, 35-24 win last week. They lost to Lincoln Way West, but they beat Barrington in that quad on Saturday that we talked about. So they're a pretty good 5-loss team when you look at who the losses are to.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, they have a chance of breaking the 18-year string of Glenbard North and DVC. Now, that tournament comes later, but you kind of got to think right now Wheaton North is the favorite.
Yeah, I think, a lot of we're going to find out a lot when they wrestle Naperville Central, because Naperville Central is also quietly come on
exactly
to the DVC with a great season. They also beat Glenbard North badly. Those teams wrestle at the end of the year, not until January 20th.
Yeah, the key word is quietly, because
that's a late one. It will. It's probably going to be, at least for duels wise, for the conference title.
Yeah, well, and the key word here is quietly, because Naperville Central, again, one of those programs, they've been in, they've been out, they've been in, but actually it's put together a pretty good season this year. Yeah,
really are. They had one loss to Batavia early, but of course they've beaten Glenbard North. They've beaten St. Charles East. They've beaten.
And St. Charles East is a good program. St. Charles East is a good program.
Some pretty good teams. So they moved up, and the The team that we're still, I think, trying to find out a lot about that moved into the rankings this week is Plainfield Central, which is still undefeated at 12-0, and but they don't have any. They have wins over 5 teams that are either ranked or honorable mention. So there are some teams kind of on the outer edges there that are making their presence known right now.
Absolutely. And then go back. Rex Whitlatch took place. OPRF won that. Deerfield runner-up. Deerfield, great showing. Program that was pretty much off the map, up until, they had champion Colton Emmerich. Had a great showing at the Elite 8 against Lockport. Last year, the 3 brothers all qualified for state. One made the finals.
Right.
Oak Park River Forest, kind of bounced back after, a lackluster for them finish at the Ironman.
Looks like, I guess Renteria got the OW in that, didn't he?
Yes, he did. And, their stars like Renteria and Madrigal coming through. Hopefully we'll see Hernandez back in the lineup. Interesting to see, because I think with the Clash coming up, that's going to be where, are we going to see the true OPRF, what kind of lineup they're going to bring to that. Again, I said, the Dubtown Throwdown, not really indicative of either Washington or OPRF. It's it's a great event, but it's really a throwaway as far as, actual dual team competition based on the format, so to speak. So Dvorak going on right now. I think you and I both kind of
should be in the quarterfinals or just finishing the quarterfinals now.
And Mason, Ohio leading, and I think you and I both kind of agree Mason, Ohio is one of the team player mixes. Both Mount Carmel and Providence right in the top, and I mean it's tight right now in the team race.
Yeah, if not, I'm going to look at the bracket for the first time right now, and let's see where we're at.
And there's going to be some great individual matchups in this tournament. Now, granted, Dvorak's kind of lost a little bit. A lot of the major teams that were in it have left.
Right. Yeah, it's really It's really a lot of the out-of-state teams are carrying it this year in a little, Yes, it does look like they are through the quarterfinals now.
Yeah, oh yeah. But it's kind of an interesting matchup because you have Mason, Ohio, which has the stars. I mean, they've got guys in that lineup that are bona fide national ranked wrestlers. Obviously, Zach Donathan, which we both know after his Ironman performance was spectacular.
They lead by half a point right now, so it's still
half a point, so it's close. But the interesting thing is, then you have Providence Catholic.
3 teams within 7. Yeah, yes, 3 teams within 7 points at this point.
And Providence and Mount Carmel have some of the top guys, but they're more of a depth. They're more of dual meet teams. So it'll be interesting to see if their depth of the lineup can overcome the star power of a team like Mason, Ohio.
We'll take a 1, 2, 3. Mason has 4 in the semis. Providence, which is a half a point back, has 1, 2, 3. Also, they have 5 in the semis.
Yep.
And Mount Carmel, which is 7 points back, has 1, 2, 3, 4. So Providence with 5 in the semis at the top each have 4. So that's
semis will be huge. That semi round will be huge.
Semis may involve something, and they may not.
Yeah. Well, and of course there are always wrestlebacks, and it's a little bit more. It's not quite as I hate to use the word brutal as like the Ironman, but a little bit smaller tournament. But It'll be interesting to see with the semis and then the wrestlebacks, which one of these three teams, which clearly those three teams are the ones in contention because it drops off pretty quick after Mount Carmel. And we know, Mason, Ohio has some pretty tough guys, but will the depth of Providence or Mount Carmel pass them up?
Yeah, I see some interesting things I see here. Just looking through the weight classes at 106, Eric Barnett has come down to 106, and Luke Odom of Edwardsville, who was at 113 until this weekend, came down to 106 as well. And on the other side, it's Silva of Plainfield South against Dean of Bishop Mac, going to 113. Pashad of Timberland, Missouri against Cassiope. Noah Certain of Edwardsville came down to 113. So they really looks like they set their lineup for this particular event. Certain goes against Jake Lindsay of Providence. That match kind of a toss-up. Tommy Hoskins, a Legacy Christian, has 2 falls. He's going against Spires of Timberland. Those 2 guys are undefeated. And then McGee of Plainfield East and Jake Dado of Marist in the other semifinal. So we have a out-of-state semifinal and an Illinois semifinal at 120. Same thing at 126 with Aaron Schulist of McQuantico going against Jamin Hood of Mason, and Dylan Bernowski of Bolingbrook and Spencer of Huntley on the other side. So a lot of out-of-state flavor at those 2 weight classes. Rochelle of Chicago, Washington, had a 10-second fall in the quarterfinals. He's going against Indeli of Wheaton North. Josh Ramos of Providence gets Zach Donovan. Yeah. We'll see what he does with him.
Yeah, good luck with that.
That's a big match with team score implications.
Yes, absolutely.
Gomez against the other Donovan.
Yeah.
138. I think we know how that one will go.
Yeah.
Gomez has 2 tech falls. And then Coleman of Mount Carmel against Peterson of Crystal Lake Central.
That's an interesting match.
That's another big match, match that Mount Carmel has to win to have a shot.
Absolutely. And Peterson, you're talking about a returning 2A state champ.
140 against Dunk. That's a Assad against Lichtfuss of Hortonville, Wisconsin. So second semifinalist for Hortonville. That's in the bottom. And a 152, O'Connor against Smith. They've already wrestled a week ago, which obviously O'Connor won by a major.
Yeah.
Goes this time. Brands has Jacob Sabella of Jacobs on the other side.
So we're probably looking at, speaking at 152, we're probably looking at a potential matchup of O'Connor and Brands in the final, and that's Brands, the son of you-know-who. Now, Iowa City West, not the team they used to be, 4, 5, 6 years ago when they were absolutely loaded. No, not right now. But a very good potential matchup in the finals.
And then at 160, Felder of Antioch made the finals last year, going against Devin Donovan of Wheaton North. That'll be don't see a whole lot of upsets so far here.
No.
The finalist here, and Elliot Luker going against Jack Muley of Mount Carmel. Big win over Carter Rowader of Iowa City West for Mule in the finals there. But interesting that West Central entered this to get Josh McKinney some matches. He'll probably win the 1A title at 160. He lost in the tiebreaker to Luker in the semifinals, so we'll see if McKinney can come back and take third place. Went on to 170. Andrew Wenger of Dakota going against the freshman Trevor Swire. Another big win, big match for Providence.
Yes, for
to try and get that was in fact that was two freshmen meeting in that quarterfinal with Swire getting past Nick Stemmen of Yorkville 11-9. So so that was a big quarterfinal match there. Riojas of Mount Carmel, a tech and a fall, going against Eric Vermillion of Mason.
That's a big match.
Team score.
Big team match.
First finalist for Milton, Wisconsin at 182, Billy Pitzner, defending state Cherokee Liga. And on the other side, Jack Jessen of Willowbrook has a pin and attack. He'll be going against Adrian Cervantes from South. The guys there.
We kind of think Jessen's a favorite in that weight class.
Now, haven't seen a whole lot here in the way of upsets. We got a lot of semifinal matchups here, but not really a whole lot out of the ordinary to the semifinals here. 195, Dalton Hambrock of Harlem has a tech and a 34-second fall. Going against Seamus O'Donnell of Crystal Lake Central. And on the other side, John Boak of Providence against Isaiah Herrera. So again, that's Boak is going to have to pull an upset there to help at Drayton of Marist going against Eric Bone of Mukwonago, Wisconsin.
And Drayton kind of the favorite in that weight class.
Drayton has a 4-1 decision in a fall. And on the other side, Josh Anderson of Edwardsville going against Maverick McPeak, another semifinalist from Dakota who has a fall and an 8-1 decision. So, and then at heavy, Cassiope with 2 first-period falls, going against Zaid Hamden of Mason, and Bobby Papiernik of Matia Valley on the other side, going against Phil Rasmussen. What is that team? From Legacy Christian.
Legacy Christian. I think, again, in that weight class.
Legacy Christian with a couple of guys.
I kind of think, again, in that weight class, Cassiopeia from Hononegah is probably the favorite in that weight class.
Oh, yeah. No doubt.
Okay.
No doubt. Well, that's kind of how the Dvorak looks. Semifinals all look pretty good to me.
Yeah. Now, going forward to the Clash, and I want to put this out, we will not have a podcast next Thursday because I will actually be going to the Clash. We will have one,
and I'll be driving home from the Rumble. So we'll have lots to talk about in the
absolutely.
Next podcast.
The next podcast we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about. Now, looking at the preview of the Clash, it's interesting because you have 3 teams that are literally way above everybody else. You have Buchanan, you have St. Edward, you have Lake Highland Prep, and then you got pretty much everybody else. Now, there's plenty of other nationally ranked teams in the Clash, and there have been a lot of departures. The Clash doesn't have as many Illinois teams this year as they've had in the past. You still have OPRF. You still have Washington.
Glenbard
North, and Providence Catholic, first year in the Clash.
Just this year.
Yeah, and Sandberg long gone, Montini long gone, Marmion Academy this year dropped out.
Montini, a very interesting addition to the Palatine tournament.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you're thinking about going to the Palatine tournament, there's another reason for you to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. The interesting thing being, like I said, you have the top 3 teams and then the others. So the interesting thing is going to be whatever 4th team manages to make it in that bloodbath bracket with Buchanan, St. Edward, and Lake Highland Prep. So it's
a great championship bracket. Sure.
It'll be kind of interesting to see though who the 4th team is. It's going to jump into that mess, because you could have Washington, you could have Oak Park River Forest, you have Park Hill, Missouri is nationally ranked.
Let me pull up my team list here, and we'll see what.
Yeah. Now the seedings haven't come out yet. The seedings haven't come out yet.
They do a pretty good job.
Yes.
Of separating the teams. So
yes, they do.
Let's see who else they have.
The top-ranked Minnesota team isn't even in it this year. Cass on Manorville, who's literally 20 miles away, and they didn't. Yeah, I don't understand that either. They're literally 20 miles away, and they opted out again this year. And Apple Valley's in there; they're nationally ranked.
I don't know.
STMA, not that great a team, but they do have some couple of Aller and
not that good this year.
No, they got a couple great individuals, but they're not as a team. Apple Valley's in there, but none of the Minnesota teams. Anoka, I know, is ranked.
I'm looking at this list, and I don't see a name that really stands out to me as an obvious number 4. I mean, it could be OPRF. It could be I could think of some names that it could be Washington, but I suppose it could be Apple Valley.
A lot of it'll depend on the seeding.
But some other names I'm thinking, Anoka is definitely in the mix.
Yes, Anoka.
I think Anoka is in the mix. North Dakota is in the mix. I think Roseburg is in the mix, and that's kind of I'm kind of scratching my head looking at the rest of these teams to see somebody that I think is an obvious number 4.
Well, I think a lot of it. I think
Park Hill is decent, but they're not. This is not the best Park Hill team ever.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. And I think.
I think OPRF or Providence has a great shot if they don't wind up in the same pool, which if somebody decided they were number 4 and number 5, I suppose would be possible.
Well, I don't think Providence is going to be number 4.
But I don't think they'd. I think with 4 Illinois teams, they'd probably send them to 4.
They'll separate them. My feeling, my gut feeling is, depending on who they put in the D bracket, you could have OPRF, you could have Park Hill, Missouri, or you could have Washington. Depending. I don't know.
That's a possibility. Yeah, one of those guys. I bet I'm thinking Apple Valley winds up with one of those teams.
It'll be interesting to see because
Yeah,
really
it'll be
the
interesting.
D bracket will be wide open, and they aren't going to put all of them in the D bracket. I mean, one of a couple of those teams are going to get spread out.
Great.
I doubt.
Yeah, I just don't think any of the other Minnesota teams are anything to write home about.
None of them.
I think
no.
Cam. I think Anoka is probably the best of the teams I see.
I agree. Anoka and Apple Valley's not Apple Valley of the old. I mean, they're a great team, but I don't see them beating any of the either an OPRF or a Washington. Park Hill, Missouri, had a nice win at the Kansas City Stampede, but the team like Tuttle, Oklahoma, which won the Kansas City Stampede, isn't even in the tournament this year. They finished 4th last year in the tournament bracket, but they're not in the tournament this year. So I think the D bracket's going to be kind of, if you want to see the mix-up, the interesting part, the D bracket is probably going to be it. And the seeding is going to determine a lot towards that because we already know you're going to have probably Buchanan's going to be number 1 in the A bracket. You're probably going to be St. Edward in B and Lake Highland Prep in C. But the D bracket's going to be like a wide open, and it's all going to depend on the seeding. And again, I'll be there, doing the broadcasts and interviews. So it'll be interesting. And again, it's also going to come down to, I know they'll separate some of the Illinois teams. Now, it probably won't happen, but I would love to see a first-round matchup of Glenbard North and Lake Highland Prep simply because the Lake Highland Prep coach,
it could happen.
Mike Palazzo,
it could happen.
He was the first state champ.
There's no reason it couldn't. I mean, Glenbard North is not going to get a seed.
Oh, no. They're not. They're not.
So it
would be fun. It would be fun to see.
It would, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
No, but it'd be fun to see, because
the coaches would probably prefer it didn't happen.
No,
but it would be great theater.
Yeah, absolutely, it would be fun to see because you got a guy Mike Palazzo who is the first state champ under obviously Hall of Fame and over 500 dual meet wins. Mark Hahn. Glenbard North and Palazzo, 1989, his first individual state champ, and goes down to Florida, and he wasn't even intending on coaching wrestling when we went down to Florida, ends up at Lake Highland Prep and builds this absolutely monster program. Wins Dvorak last year. This year, they're nationally ranked in the top 3 or 4, depending on which ranking you look at, and a loaded lineup. Had a great showing for their first year at the Ironman. Not granted, Glenbard North is down this year. We know that. Glenbard North won the first clash. Assistant coach Joe Gomez, member of the all-tournament team. And actually, Austin Gomez has a shot at making history and being a 4-time all-tournament team member of the clash, which quite frankly, he's going to do. No one's going to beat him there at 138.
I haven't said anything. Looking at this list,
yeah,
I haven't said anything about Commerce, Georgia. They are a Class 1A team in Georgia. They have 10 returning state champs,
but
they hold their own against some of the better competition in Georgia, even though they're a 1A school in a 6-class system.
Yeah,
I don't know whether they can hang with this group, but I'm going to say it again. Yeah. This is a team with 10 state champs in their lineup, so. They do bear some watching to see which bracket they make, they're seeded, whether what kind of a run may give teams with bigger names, and whether they can make one of the higher brackets.
Yeah.
So I think
side stories.
they're very not only
Yeah.
do they have all these state champs, most of them are still not seniors.
Interesting.
Most of them are juniors.
That's interesting.
So they are probably a year away
Yeah.
from being as good as they could be. So Commerce, Georgia, folks.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. And well, an interesting thing
if
because
they fall flat on their face,
yeah.
well then we
well,
somebody else told the rest of the field about them.
Well, and just to make a point, we said, last year Dakota went to the Clash. They're not back this year, but last year Dakota went to the Clash, and they were a 3 and then went on to win their 4th straight state championship for Illinois in Class 1A. And they went in, and I'm going to be honest with you, man, the day one, they took an absolute beating. And it's on YouTube, the interview I had with Coach Albert. I mean, you could just tell the frustration in his face because they, now granted, to be fair, they had a few guys out because of injuries, but the matchups they had and, the kind of tournament they had was really an eye-opener for them. But I credit them, being a Class A team to go to a national tournament like that. I mean, because, hey, you're not facing just Illinois Class A competition. You're facing, from across the country.
And they do. Okay, look, tell the folks again how they pick up this podcast live.
Well, we click on the YouTube. I post the YouTube link in the forums, and then all they have to do is click on the link. And then when we go live, boom, there it is. Now we went a little late tonight. Normally we're usually right at 7.
It's okay. I have somebody messaging me asking me how to get there. So
and it's
let me see if I can. Okay, so it's on the forum. I'm going to go to the forum right now.
Yeah. And there's a link there and all they have to do is click on the link. Now, if you don't catch it live, it automatically uploads and archives to YouTube. So at any time, you can go back and watch any of these. And we've done a bunch of them already, Rob. We've done a bunch.
I've pasted in the link, so hopefully this individual will ask few minutes of what we're talking about here.
Yeah, and like I said before, even if they don't get it live, when I post, every time I post it in the 1A, 2A, and 3A forums on Illinois Matmen, all they have to do is click on the link. Now they may have to wait. Now normally we're right on time at 7. Tonight was a little bit different. It'll few glitches, no biggie. We got started a little late. But that same link is good to go, and you can watch it. Any of these podcasts archived, to include all the ones I did all the way back in the summer, with guys like Steve Mocco and Jason Morris, and the ones we did with Glenbard North, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But during this wrestling season, now we won't be on next Thursday, but Thursday after we will, and it'll be a big one because there's a lot of stuff going on. Plus, we have the Cheesehead coming up in January, which is also a big tournament.
Exactly.
And
it looks like done with wrestling completely at the Dvorak because the team scores have not changed.
Right.
But just to
they've got another
just
day
to fill you in on where some of the other team we already told you that Mason, Providence, and Mount Carmel are the top 3 teams.
And they're dead in it. It's going to be one of those 3.
And Wheat North is 4th. Good for them.
Yep. Good for them.
Edwardsville is 5th. Plainfield South is 8th, and Huntley is 9th. So those are our that takes care of the rest of the Illinois teams in the top 10.
Yeah.
There are 6 of the top 10 are Illinois teams.
Well, what's going to be fun when the DVC tournament comes up, because for those who don't know, Wheaton North is coached also by a former Glenbard North wrestler, Travis Cherry, who is also a member of the Clash all-tournament team and a state champ for Glenbard North, and he's now the coach at Wheaton North. So I'm imagining there's going to be a lot of barking going on coming
Glenbard
that
North
DVC tournament.
Glenbard North is 20th
Yep.
in the team standings.
Mm-hmm.
Unbelievable.
Well,
never thought I would see the day.
Well, they're a little bit on a down year, but I am never going to count out. And Mark Hahn, this is his final year. But given the guys behind him, with Joe Gomez and the Gomez Academy, I will not.
They
will bring them up. They'll come. They'll come. They will definitely refill their ranks. And everybody goes through phases. And look at Providence Catholic. We're talking about a team that, good Lord, what did they do in the 90s and early 2000s? And then they hit their spot too. I mean, they were dead and gone. And, those of you who read the Illinois Matmen forums, everyone was calling for Healy's head. And they were like, oh, they're dead. Oh, this stinks, blah, blah, blah. And then they got Gertis in. They rebooted the Little Celtics. And what happened? Last year, boom, 4th in state. This year,
can't do without it.
Yeah, absolutely. But, good programs always find a way to stay good. When Montini went through it, they starting the season last year, everybody thought they were also dead and gone. Yeah, granted, they had a great Ironman tournament based on about 5 guys, but they lost a lot of dual meets. They've already got 2 dual meet losses this year, but they just managed. They went into a tough regional with Lions, managed to win the regional, managed to go into the Elite 8, and they actually gave Marmion Academy last year a pretty good battle. We were on the call, and they managed to put together a competitive team come dual team state. And so I never, ever discount Izzy and, what they can accomplish.
For sure.
Yeah, and again, like people say,
standings.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Is it's going to be a heck of a team race. I think Mason's going to be I think all these top teams are going to be fortunate to get more than 2 to the finals, which is going to make it really, really interesting.
Well, they're going to have tough semifinals. I mean, because there's a lot of good individuals in the tournaments. Like we said, we mentioned the 3 teams, but there's great individuals in that in those semifinals.
All 3 of those teams have matches where they're favored and matches that they're, quite frankly, not going to win in the semifinals. So it's going to be interesting. If any of those teams could get more than 2, then they could create a little bit of separation. I'm not sure I see any of them doing it.
Well, and compared to last year, I think we have a wide open Dvorak this year. Last year, Lake Highland Prep was the hands down favorite. I mean, that was a no brainer. This year,
they had finalists.
Oh yeah, I mean, and they were a loaded team. But this year, you're looking at 3 teams that any one of them could pull this off.
Yeah, I think this is one of those fields where I don't think where it's a good chance no team gets more than 2 to the finals.
Sure,
and which is going to make it
and it'll make
make it really close and really intense.
And it'll make the wrestling backs important too. The wrestle backs, those 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th places will come into play.
Yeah, we'll be starting with those. We'll be starting with those matches where the quarterfinal losers come in tomorrow morning, and those are going to be really important.
Absolutely. So
you got to get that. You'll get that placement point for winning in addition to your advancement. Plus, for the opportunity to advance further. So, no, those matches are huge.
Yep. And again, like I stated before, but I'd like to reiterate. It's kind of neat to see the kind of challenge between the star power of a Mason, Ohio versus the depth of a Mount Carmel and a Providence, where, they may make a lot of their money, so to speak, in those wrestlebacks.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Providence and Mount Carmel are going to have to do.
Mm-hmm. So
they've done it before.
Oh, absolutely. And okay, so we covered the Clash. I'm going to go ahead and say again, we will not be broadcasting next week on Thursday. I'll be at the Clash. Rob, you're traveling to?
I'll be traveling. I will be at, for those of you who are listening who I haven't already communicated directly with, I will be at Abe's Rumble on Thursday. Look forward to seeing all the 1A coaches and fans there, and taking in what I don't think is any question probably going to be a great event.
Absolutely. I'll be broadcasting at the Clash for Oak Park River Forest. I will also be doing some side interviews, and the following Thursday, we'll bring you another podcast, and there is going to be a lot to recap. And with the Cheesehead coming up and a ton of other stuff, it's going to be a good one. So I encourage everybody, make sure you tune in. Again, we were a little late tonight. No problem. We'll, hopefully next week, no issue, we'll have no issues. But, hey, life generates, and life dictates. So,
yep.
And again,
we rescued it in grand style, I think.
Absolutely. and to reiterate, I had Andre on earlier, make sure you check us out. We're planning to bring a kick-ass coverage of the Chicago Catholic League coming up. That's going to be a great tournament. You've got really a lot of loaded teams and a lot of great individuals involved in it. So make sure you catch that. More information to follow on that one. And hopefully, maybe even a sectional. I don't know. I don't want to, speculate. I'm hoping we can pull together enough so we can do one of the sectionals. Obviously, Downers Grove North right now is looking as the this year's so-called bloodbath. Every year there's one.
Yep.
Thank you, IHSA.
Well,
yeah, that's another side issue.
This year, I think there's going to be two.
Yeah, very possible. And God forbid we get the sectional matchups that we're fearing. But Deem Tool, I'm talking about the team duel sectional matchups I'm afraid of. But we'll keep this up, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Rob, again, thank you very much. I'm sure you had an interesting day. All right, and I'm going to say goodbye to everybody now. And again, like I said, we will not be back next week, 2 weeks from now, and we'll have a whole lot of stuff to give everybody. Thanks for listening. And again, I appreciate any input. Just let us know what you want to hear more of. Have a good night and enjoy the rest of the season.